I'm going to make this real simple. If you missed the last 15 minutes of Impact this week, do not miss the replay. Because if you missed this week's show, you missed probably the most compelling segment in Impact history. I was on the edge of my seat through this whole thing. Jeff Jarrett cut probably the best promo of his entire career, calling out Sting on all the stuff that he's been saying lately. He accused Sting of just using that as a smokescreen to hide the fact that Sting and all the other veterans are just trying to hold on to their spots and don't want to get out of the way of the young guys and give them the respect that they've earned. And he brought up things that the fans have been saying. He brought up the death of WCW. I marked out huge for that. And he said that TNA was meant to be the place where the young guys could have the opportunity to get their foot in the door, and not a place for the stars of yesterday to just coast by on their name value, never work house shows, and still get paid more than any other 10 guys on the roster combined. Guys like Sting. And then Kurt Angle came out and Jeff Jarrett let him have it, and then it ended with the TNA debut of Mick Foley. Oh, man, what an awesome segment this was. And the best part was that you believed every word Jeff Jarrett said. When his voice started shaking and he got all emotional, you knew he meant every single word. Raw emotion. That's what sells. Not Misty on a pole matches or black tie brawl and chain matches or ladder match after ladder match after ladder match. Raw emotion. This one segment did more to sell people on Bound for Glory than any weird gimmick match TNA could have possibly come up with. If you missed the show, watch the replay, set your TiVo, DVR, whatever you use. If you miss it, there's something wrong with you. This storyline is just tremendous right now, and it's getting bigger and bigger. It started with just Joe and Sting, then they added AJ to it, and now it's starting to include lots of other people. Motor City Machine Guns, Christian Cage, Jay Lethal, who also cut an awesome promo on this show, by the way. This could very well turn into something that I like to call the umbrella angle. It's a storyline that becomes so big that it encompasses the whole show. Every man and every woman on the roster in some way, shape, or form. It's a lot like the New Blood Millionaires Club feud from WCW, which could have been huge if it hadn't fallen apart creatively. Fortunately, this seems to be a lot more well thought out than that was. Example, Motor City Machine Guns. Did you notice, after their match with AJ and Christian, that Sabin and Shelley gave AJ tons of respect before they flipped Christian off? They might respect AJ Styles, but they have no respect for the veterans. So on the one side, you've got Sting, who wants respect for supposedly altruistic reasons, and then you've got Kurt Angle and Booker T, who want respect for selfish reasons. And on the other side of that coin, you've got guys like AJ and Joe, who have a really great argument that Sting is just being a huge hypocrite. And then you've got the Motor City Machine Guns, who are perfect examples of what Sting's been talking about this whole time. There's faces and heels on both sides of the playing field. And it's just brilliant. You might not know which side to support, you might not know who to cheer for, but you're just dying to see what happens next. I cannot wait for Bound for Glory. Now, as for the rest of the show, Jay Lethal did something this week that I need to call attention to. Remember Raw a few weeks ago when Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho were doing their contract signing for the unsanctioned match? Did you notice how Chris Jericho was always looking off to the side like this during that whole thing? Because the enmity between these two men had become so great that Jericho didn't even want to look Shawn in the eye until the very end. It's little details like that, little character ticks like that can really add to the believability of story and characters, and they finally got that this week with Jay Lethal. First, he cut a great, angry promo as himself rather than Black Machismo, and then he came out to the ring, foregoing his usual entrance, looking pissed off like he was ready for a fight. And that's absolutely the right thing to do with Jay Lethal, because think about it. If something happened to you, like what happened to Jay Lethal at No Surrender, would you come out to the ring doing this? No, you wouldn't. This was exactly what they needed to do with Jay Lethal, and it's attention to character like this that TNA needs to have more of. Look at Angelina, for example. Okay, she lost in her title match at the pay-per-view, and she's not even upset about it. I mean, what is she upset about? A pimple. And yeah, that does fit with her character, but the championship should always be more important than stuff like that. I don't care what your gimmick is. Something else I liked, Roxy is the new subject of the Rough Cut, which I love because when you get a Rough Cut segment spotlighting you, it's usually a sign that you're in line for a big push. Example, Matt Morgan, Consequences Creed, Taylor Wilde. Now, dare I hope that this means Roxy is finally about to get that big push she should have gotten after Sacrifice? I don't know, but I'm optimistic. It was kind of weird, though. I mean, from some of the comments, it sounds like they were trying to repackage Roxy as a hardcore wrestler, which sounds a lot like the role they intended Moose to fill before she went and broke her leg. And it's a little suspicious that they would do this with Roxy now when they just took Moose off the roster page on the website a few days ago. Roxy is a hardcore wrestler. I don't know how I feel about that, but at least they're doing something with her now, and Roxy is my favorite knockout not currently wearing a burqa, so I like it. And next, something you guys might not have noticed, but for the last 2 weeks, Impact is starting using dissolves a lot more. Now that's a post-production thing, transitioning from one shot to the next. I mean, usually it's just cut, 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 which is really boring considering the extensive editing process that Impact goes through every week. But on these last 2 shows, there's been a noticeable increase in the number of dissolves. And that's a really subtle thing, but sometimes using a dissolve instead of a cut can make a big difference in building the drama of a segment. Like if you're having an intense confrontation between 2 guys, and you dissolve from a close-up of one guy to a close-up of the other guy, it's much more effective than if you just used a simple cut. And this is something that the WWE has mastered in recent years. And TNA hasn't really done that much of it, but hopefully this is a sign that they're starting to. You know, it's little things like that that show that their production's becoming more polished. And anyway, finally, Bound for Glory. The card is taking shape. It looks really nice so far. In addition to Joe and Sting, we're going to have Kurt Angle versus either Jeff Jarrett or Mick Foley, some kind of tag team invitational, and something I'm psyched about, they're bringing back the Terror Dome, which is now called the Asylum. I like that name better. Terror Dome just sounded too B-movie-ish. Anyway, the first one was awesome, and I can't wait to see it again. Anyway, Impact kicked ass this week. Watch the replay. Talk to you later.